I'm actually thinking that's what was causing our problems. Our pump was starving for oil and wasn't giving enough oil to pressurize the system. So I'm hoping that was an easy fix. Went ahead and put new seals in the pump. Probably didn't need to, but maybe this will save one of you guys out there. All right, so working on the John Deere. Hydraulic pump is going out on it. So before it gets much worse, I want to tear it off and see if we can rebuild it. And of course, it's mounted on the front of the tractor. It drives off the front of the crankshaft. And had to remove this counterweight. That is a son of a gun. So if you're not sure, maybe not want to attempt it. I used my jack, an off-road Badlands jack, and a ratchet strap. Hooked it on the bucket over top of this first beam, and then hooked it in one of the eyelets, and then had the jack underneath it to help. But letting that ratchet strap go was not the most comfortable feeling, but it's off. So now we can see we got a hydraulic pump. So we're going to break these two lines off on this side. That line, which should be the suction line, off on that one. And then there's two bolts. Looks like that holds the bracket. And then we'll see what else we got to take off. And then once we get the pump off, we'll wrap up the lines and tear the pump apart inside the shop when it's nice and clean. All right, let me get these lines disconnected. All right, we're trying to get this hydraulic pump off. Show you what I've done so far. Disconnected this line, disconnected this line. There's 4 bolts that do a half clamps for the supply line. And then I loosened off that bolt and that bolt. And then I'm going to finish taking those out, and we should see. I went ahead and put some WD-40 around that flange area where it bolts up. And it should slide off that drive shaft. Should just be splined, but I'm sure it's been on there for a good bit of years, so we'll see how easy it slides off. But yeah, so we can get this pump off and tear it apart and see what we need to do. There was no leaks on external leaks on it, so that's good. All right, so like I said, it was just splined, but this is rusted on there pretty good. Definitely signs of water in the hydraulic fluid. I definitely changed it several times in the filter, but you can see there's the mud built up in there and debris. That's the coupling drive shaft going for it. So, all right, I'm gonna get some wraps to cap off these hydraulic lines, and then we'll get the pump inside the shop. All right, so here's our hydraulic pump. So this is actually, from what I understand, this is 2 pumps in one. So this is where the bolts up to the engine mount, and then the drive shaft comes off the front of the engine, drives in here. This section here is the main hydraulic pump for the backhoe, the loader, all that. And this section up here is the power steering. So it's a hydraulic pump for the power steering. That's how I understand it. We're going to go ahead and start tearing it apart. Again, just looking at it, you can see milky stuff inside. So hopefully it's just some bushings and some seals that we need to replace, and there's no hard part damage, but we'll see once we get it tore apart. It was making some pretty good noise before I stopped using it, and then it just kind of lost all hydraulic pressure. So I changed hydraulic fluid, changed the filter, made sure the breather filter was clear, all that good stuff, and yeah, didn't make a difference. So I don't think it was because of the noise. I don't think it was a relief valve issue. I think it was actually a pump issue. So we'll get it tore apart and see what's going on in there. So the spline one goes on the right when the relief valve is down here.
You need a device?
Might have to. Oh. See if I'm in view. So yeah, probably what I'll end up doing is there's a seal there. It didn't look like it had any external leaks. That's the crazy thing. Changing it every 6 months. I don't know. Guess that part's coming off. Gear pump.
Ah.
Not seated in?
I got the thing that's pushing in on it.
Oh, okay. So that was probably a wear plate. So those shafts going there. Oh, there is have bushings in there. Have to clean them up and see. So bushings there.
Looks pretty cool.
Yeah. Some wear there. Oh, that's just a wheel. We'll get it all cleaned up. So splines go, that'll be pretty self-explanatory. So yeah, it's got some wear. I don't know if that makes a difference. Shouldn't be wear on that because they put these sacrificial wear plates in. That's brass, just like that one. All right, so this is the entire thing pulled apart. Everything looks pretty good except for this section. We're seeing some pitting in there. I don't know if that's from cavitation or just wear or what. It's only on one side. This side looks much better. That's the main hydraulic pump where these two gears here fit into. Everything else we don't see. I mean, there's your wear on your brass. I'm assuming this is brass wear plates, but don't know if I can buy just that. I don't know if it's. I think I'd rather rebuild this. If I can't get this, I think I'm just going to replace all the bushings and wear and seals and wear plates and see if that's going to affect it. If it works, then it works, because this is a couple $1,000s for a replacement pump, and I think they're used. So, but I'm going to do some research, and we'll come up with a game plan. But at least we got it tore apart. Again, unfortunately, the only hard part that's not a wear item is this piece, and I don't know what the tolerances are. We'll figure it out. All right, I'm going to do some research. Okay, so we got our John Deere seal kits in. So there's basically 5 items here. This is the main pump seal kit. There's your part number. And there's the power steering, I think. pump repair kit. See if I can get the part number. And then there's small O-ring. There's part number. And then those two pieces there. So not everything is available anymore. And I believe there's 2 pumps that they used on this particular tractor, depending on the serial number you have. So make sure you verify that. This pump that mine has is what they call a Vickers pump. Here's the parts. I have the parts book. So kind of have the parts breakdown, so it'll help me to put it all back together. I'm going to clean each piece, good with brake cleaner, and then oil it up with some brand new clean hydraulic fluid. And then we'll put it back together with all new seals and try to clean the system. We're going to drain the system out, put new fresh oil. We got 2 new John Deere hydraulic filters. We're going to put those on. And I expect it's February, so I'll probably run this. If everything works out good, we'll run this until maybe July, depending on how well it works, and then do another flush. And then after that, I'll probably change the oil and the hydraulic fluid and filter once a year at the minimum. We're kind of see. I had a lot of moisture in this oil, and that's probably the biggest problem that we had. So we have huge temperature changes. So you get a lot of condensation built up, and I think, if the tractor's not being ran, oil get up to temperature to where it burns off that moisture. All right, so let me get these parts out, and we'll lay it out, see if I remember how to get everything back together. All right, we'll get a camera. As we can see in our schematic, the first thing, this is the back of the pump. This is what will bolt to the flange where it mounts onto the engine. So it's the back of the pump where the drive shaft, spline shaft goes through and drives the pump. First thing is this small seal here. We have a new seal here. So we got to get this old seal out. So we'll pull this old seal out and then we'll clean up and put the new seal in. All right, I got all cleaned up, ready for the new seal. I'm just going to put a thin coat of sealant around the edge of the outside of the seal. And then we'll reinsert it and get it all ready to go. We'll flip it back over and start assembling it. I just got my vise set up here to the side so I can put it together as we're going. Okay, so we got that seal in. We're going to flip this upside down, and you can see we're putting these pieces in next. And then we'll just go through the whole setup. What they have is they call it a seal and a retainer, which is basically, this is a seal, this is a retainer. This is the old one. So you put it's basically like a pre-shaped O-ring, and then that's got a little groove in it that sits over top of it. And then you can see how that works. And then we take our wear plate. So these wear plates, there's one of them, there's 2 of them, one between that body and then one here. There's no longer available. The other one is available, but it's not cheap. And I think I only found it from one place. So I don't even know if it's a legitimate John Deere part or not. So this, although, you see some wear, I don't think it's excessive. So we're just going to put it back together the way it is. So the brass, what I'm calling the brass colored surface, goes up and the steel surface goes down. You'll see a little indentation there. It lines up with that indentation, and we just set it on top. And that actually will help seat that seal underneath it. So we'll set it like that, and then we set the other section on there, and then we set our pump. Actually, I think we put our shafts on here too. So I'm gonna have to get some hydraulic fluid so I can lubricate these bushings for the pump shafts. So, all right, let's keep on going. Got some clean oil here. Lubed up the shafts, set the shafts in first. First I did this one, and it comes through that seal that we just replaced. Then I just dropped this one in. No forcing, no binding. And then I lubricated inside the walls of this chamber here, and then slid it on, and then just used a rubber mallet, seated it on there. So everything looks good. Everything's lined up. Got a divot there. It bevels out. So I think the next thing is another wear plate. And then the top piece of the main hydraulic pump, and then it's the power steering pump. So it's coming together nice. fairly easy. All right, I went ahead and set that top pump part on. So that looks good. Now I'm just getting ready to put my power steering pump part together. And this is the check valve. So I tore it apart. I just didn't record it because I didn't want to lose any shims. So when you take this plug off, you're going to have a bunch of different thicknesses of shims, and that's preset for pressure. That's the relief valve. I believe this is just the power steering relief valve. The main hydraulic system's got a separate one located somewhere else in the system. Just took it apart, cleaned it, checked the little tip where it seats. There is some signs of wear, but I can't grab it with. It doesn't catch my fingernail, so I'm okay with that. It does have an O-ring on the plug, so this is the part number for it, or 26286. So just want to show you guys that one because it's not included in the kit. And then also you'll have some shaped seals. The replacement ones are not shaped; they're just round, so you'll have to fit them in there. There comes with 3 of them, so yeah, something to keep in mind. So far, that's the only dilemma that I've had so far. So let me keep on putting this relief valve together, and we'll get this thing back together. Sorry, battery went dead. Put the phone on charger, and got this thing back together. I wanted to do it before I called it a night, but she's all back together. Everything's the front pump, rear pump, all the seals. There was one gasket that it didn't come with, so the kit didn't come with that gasket, number 28, and then according to this, it's supposed to be part of that kit, which is what we bought. It's actually part of the power steering pump kit. So, unfortunately, I cleaned up the old one. No cuts or gouges in it, just a little bit of flattening. So we put it back on there. Everything else went really well. She's all back together. Probably going to, in the morning, I'm going to drain the fluid out of the reservoir tank, pull the filter, and then we'll fill it back up and see if she works. If we get the hydraulics working, then this spring we'll plan to do those hydraulic rams, rebuild those, and get those done. That'll at least get us our hydraulic pump working, hopefully, and we'll go from there. But that's going to be it for tonight. We'll see you in the morning. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is start draining this hydraulic oil reservoir tank. Look up underneath it. Right there, we'll see the drain plug. Just drain it into a pail I have. And then I'll pull the fill plug out. And we'll drain it out as much as we can. And then I'm going to see what else we can do. Hopefully just let it drain for a bit. I need to clean this sight glass, so I'll probably pull it off and clean it up so I can actually see in it. But yeah, let's get that drain plug going. We'll see what this fluid looks like. I got the oil draining out of the reservoir. Already got 5 gallon, filled up a 5 gallon pail. It's about halfway full on the second 5 gallon. So I'm just gonna let it drip. The weather's kind of changing. I think it might start raining or snowing. And if it does, I want to be able to close up the hydraulic system. I don't want to introduce more moisture. So I may not get the pump installed. May wait till a day or two for the weather to dry out a little bit more, just because it's not cheap. You know, this thing takes 10 or 15 gallons of hydraulic fluid. The filters are $60 to $80 a piece. So I want to try to protect it. That pump is $3,000 or $4,000 if I did have to replace it. So just this ridiculous little seal kit, it was a couple $100. So nothing's cheap on this hydraulic system. So I did pull the sight glass off on the reservoir tank, and you can see just some magoo buildup on it. So we're going to clean it really well. We'll put it back together, see how the weather is, and if nothing else, the pump's ready to go when the weather does prove to be a little nicer. But let me get this sight glass cleaned up, put it back on the tank, and figure out what to do next. All right, we got the sight glass cleaned up, put back on. Look how much nicer that is. So that'll be a huge improvement. Actually see how full the tank is. That's how much oil we got out of the reservoir, still dripping. So, all right guys, I got the new John Deere hydraulic fluid filter on there. I let it drain for a while. I filled this thing up. The instructions per the filter, the John Deere filter, says to Once it once the seal makes contact with the base, turn it 3/4 to 1 turn, then back it off, then do it again. And like I said, helps seat that seal. So something I've never done before. But they've actually put a separate sticker on the filter to tell you that. Now this, I was running the Baldwin equivalent, and surprisingly, it's quite a bit smaller diameter. I'm gonna have to get a different filter wrench because mine doesn't fit this one, but it fits the Baldwin. But I'll try to compare it side by side. I got the Baldwin draining right now, and we'll see if this provides us better performance. All right, so now I'm gonna try to finish draining out the lines so we can get this pump back on. All right, so here's a side-by-side comparison. John Deere versus the Baldwin. You can kind of see John Deere's quite a bit taller. Probably I'd say an easy inch taller. And then, let me see if I can show you the diameter difference. It's not drastic, but there is a difference. I'd say probably 1/2 inch more diameter. So that's, yeah, we'll see how these John Deeres work. All right, Jenna and I are down here. Just before I got ready to fill the tank, I figured I might want to pull this inspection cover off and see if I need to clean it. I was not aware this was in here. So it's like a strainer. Just look at it. I think the pump was starving. So look inside the tank, you can see. So we're going to clean that out. So even though you pull the drain plug, you don't get it all out. So we're going to pull the drain plug back out, put a bucket underneath there, see if we can clean more of that stuff out, and then we're going to clean the strainer before we put our new fluid in. Who would have thought, huh? Well, this feels like just a metal strainer slash baffle. So, all right, we're going to get to cleaning. Jenna's down here helping me clean this hydraulic tank out. Just got a box full of rags. It's looking a lot better though. Looking good, just about got it. We'll get the rest of it. We can't get behind this baffle. We don't want to stick nothing back there in case it gets lost. I don't see a way to get behind it. It's welded in. So we'll get the stuff in the corner, do a final wipe through, and then we'll probably go clean that strainer. But that'll be a lot better. Previous owner probably never maintained the hydraulic system. We just did I've done 2 filter and fluid changes since we've owned this, and not knowing that there was a strainer in there. So good to know. I'm actually thinking that's what was causing our problems. Our pump was starving for oil and wasn't giving enough oil to pressurize the system. So I'm hoping that was an easy fix. Went ahead and put new seals in the pump. Probably didn't need to, but maybe this will save one of you guys out there. Hopefully tomorrow we'll get that pump on if the weather permits and fill this system up, test it out. All right, so we tried using some degreaser, and it got some of it, but not very much of that. It's still packed in there all the way through and through. So now we got it soaking in a bucket of diesel fuel. So we're probably going to let it sit overnight in this diesel fuel, and then we'll pull it out tomorrow, and hopefully it'll be clean. Because right now we put it under the spigot, and it's not letting water come through except at the end cap. All right, we're going to let this soak. We're going to put our inspection cover back on the tank for the night, and then we'll see. All right, it's the next day. We're going to see what this thing looks like, if that diesel fuel helped at all. It's hard to say. I'm sure there's a lot settled on the bottom. There's still debris in there. I don't know if it'll pick up on the camera. Let me rinse it out a couple times, see if we can get it loosened up. All right, so sitting overnight in diesel fuel definitely helped break everything down. There was still some crap built up in the edges. And then what I did is scrubbed it with a brass wire brush in the diesel fuel this morning, and then rinsed it out with diesel fuel. Then I blasted about 2 cans of brake cleaner through it, in it, around it, and that's what we got. So it looks a lot better. I'm gonna let it dry completely. All right, so we got everything cleaned out. Wiped out the tank real good, cleaned that filter. Still got some staining on the filter, but it's gonna be a big difference. All right, I'm gonna put this cover back on, fill it with the fluid. Okay, we're getting ready to install the hydraulic pump back on the John Deere. When I used a wire brush on the drill, just cleaned up the splines. They're pretty rusted up. Then I coated it with grease, and then I just cleaned up the splines on the drive shaft for it on the front of the motor, using WD-40 and just kind of using a pick to scrape it clean. So should work pretty good. We're gonna slide it on there, and then I'm gonna fill the reservoir and see if it will push any old oil out of the supply line up until I get some clean oil out. So we'll see how that goes. Let's get to it. All right, we got the hydraulic pump bolted in. It actually slid right in there nice and easy. Just clean up the splines, put some grease on there. I'm leaving the lines disconnected right now, and I'm gonna start filling the reservoir tank, see if I can get some fluid coming out of the suction line, which is on that side. And if it does, once I get good clean fluid coming out, I will bolt that back up and then leave these lines disconnected to see if I can kind of pre-prime the pump a little bit, get some fluid sitting in the pump. So that's kind of my plan. We'll see how it works. Okay, we got the tractor running. We did get some foaming going on in the hydraulics, but it's got to clean out all them lines. I plan to change it again here in a couple months. No leaks. I'm gonna leave the front counterweight. Not hearing any noises. So what I'm gonna do now, I gotta put some air in the tires. I'm gonna drive it, test the steering. I'm gonna extend the backhoe, do the stabilizers, just run all the hydraulics, work the steering, see how good it feels, how there's a noticeable change. It's pretty windy out. I'll try to get some of this, but we'll see how it works. All right, guys, hopefully you can hear me. The tractor's not too loud and the wind's blowing pretty good, but just worked the backhoe real good. She's working really nice. Every once in a while this hydraulic filter light comes on, so it's probably loosening up quite a bit of crap in the lines. So I'm gonna run it for a little bit, get the hydraulics fluid up to temperature, but you can hear it's nice and quiet. I don't hear the pump. Let me give a little bit of gas. It's about 1300 RPMs. We're just gonna run it, get as much fluid out of the air through the system, nice and hot, loosen up everything. Doesn't miss a lick though. Steering's better than ever. I've never had the steering this nice. But yeah, pretty excited. So I'd say that's a success. Beautiful mountain ranges. So we got lots of plans for this tractor this summer, so definitely come in handy. that's going to be it for this video. Stay tuned for the next one on the tractor. Is going to be, we're going to replace the seals in that front loader ram and the right side rear stabilizer jack. So we're going to replace those seals. We're going to give it a good cleaning, go through and grease it. Something to keep in mind before you go and tear apart your hydraulic pump. I didn't know. It's my first big tractor I've owned. That hydraulic reservoir tank has a strainer in there, and believe it or not, it'll get plugged. So I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's ever been replaced or cleaned. But yeah, hopefully that saves you guys some headache. Could have had this thing up and running a lot quicker. I didn't need to pull apart the pump, but hey, live and learn. That's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.